Let's have a conversation about Form 1040, Schedule SE, and I'm going to give you line by line instructions. Don't go anywhere. You're going to love today's conversation. I guarantee it. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of the Awesome Security Kiwi Show. How are you today? I hope you are doing fantastic. I'm doing marvelous, if you were to ask me. If you are doing as great as I am, go grab a cup of coffee or tea or vodka and let's roll. In today's conversation, I will give you Form 1040 line by line, Form 1040 Schedule SE, very important, line by line instructions. But here, if you are here just for the step-by-steps, please, you want to fast forward to 8 or 9 minutes to get to that part of the video. However, if you bear with me, I will give you in the first 8 minutes of this video relevant information that will help you file Schedule SE easily. Let's first talk about let me give you an overview. So when we talk about Schedule SE, we are speaking about self-employment tax. All right, so you file this with Form 1040, 1040 NR or 1040 SR. And how much is self-employment tax? The amount will be different for each person, but there are rates and limits you can apply to determine how much you need to pay. So up to $142,800 of your net earnings from self-employment income are taxed at 15.3%, with 12.4% for Social Security and 2.9% for Medicare. All right, this is really important. Net earnings exceeding this amount are taxed at 2.9%. So an additional Medicare tax rate of 0.9% applies to self-employment income above a threshold amount. So the maximum Social Security contribution is $17,707.20. In other words, you multiply $142,800 times 12.4%. There is no limit on the amount of income subject to the Medicare portion of the self-employment tax. Okay, so who files a Schedule SE tax form? If you work as a contractor, either part-time or full-time, you will likely be responsible for self-employment tax. In fact, every self-employed person with net earnings of at least 400, you hear that? 400 needs to include a Schedule SE with Form 1040. So self-employed persons for self-employment tax purposes will fall into one of these 3 or 4 categories. Actually, 5 categories. So we have contractors receiving non-employee compensation, individuals who file business taxes on a Schedule C, partners who actively provide services to partnerships, including multiple member LLCs who file a partnership return. This is important to keep in mind. And you have a single member LLC owners, and you have sole proprietors. And if you are a religious leader, you may also need to file a Schedule SE. This is the case if you have a clergy income of $108.28 at least. Okay. And one thing I want to say here is that the Schedule SE form is used by the Social Security Administration. So they use this information that they receive from the IRS about your self-employment taxes along with your payroll taxes to determine your Social Security benefits. So you have to pay self-employment tax on net self-employment earnings, no matter your age or if you are already getting Social Security or Medicare benefits. Speaking of that, let me just break down the income here. So when we speak about self-employment taxes, what kind of income are we talking about? First of all, we have net earnings from self-employment. So in most cases, net earnings include your net profit from a farm or a non-farm business. Okay, you have a partnership income or loss. This is something that you normally should be having from your Schedule K. We have covered this on other shows. So you'll be getting this from your Form 1065 or 1120S, depending upon, here we are speaking about a partnership, so not an S corporation. So a partnership, you only get Form 1065, okay? And you also have you have community income. So your own distributed share of partnership income is included in figuring out your net earnings from self-employment. So you also have share farming. You are considered self-employed if you produce crops or livestock on someone else's land for a share of the crops or livestock produced. And this is something that really you have to, if you're interested in learning more about that, you want to pay attention to publication 225. Okay, and other income and losses included in net earnings from self-employment. You have a rental income from a farm. You have cash or payments in kind from the Department of Agriculture, USDA. Payments for the use of rooms or other space when you also provided substantial services for the convenience of your tenants. Examples are hotel rooms, boarding houses, tourist camps or homes, trailer parks, parking lots, warehouses, and storage garages. If you need more information, please check out publication 334. If you have income from the retail sale of newspapers and magazines, if you are age 18 or older and kept the profit. Income you receive as a direct seller, so newspaper carriers or distributors of any age are direct sellers if certain conditions apply. We have covered this again on publication 334 on another video. Income also come from amounts received by current or former self-employed insurance agents and salespersons that are paid after retirement, that also have received renewal commissions or deferred commissions paid after retirement for sales made before retirements. Very important. The sales were made before the retirements, but they have received deferred commissions. Income of a certain crew members, fees as a state or local government employee, interest received in the course of any trade or business, fees and other payments received by you for services as a director of a corporation, recapture amounts under Section 179 and 280F, and gain or loss from Section 1256 contracts or related property by an options or commodities dealer in the normal course of dealing in or trading Section 1256 contracts. And let's talk about the income and losses not included in net earnings from self-employment. So first, I was talking to you about the income and losses that are included. Now let's talk about those that you should basically exclude. Salaries, fees, and other income subject to Social Security or Medicare tax that you received from performing services as an employee, including services performed as an employee under the railroad retirement system. We have fees received for services performed as a notary public, income you received as a retired partner under a written partnership plan. We have income from real estate rentals if you did not receive the income in the course of a trade or business as a real estate dealer. You want to report this income on Schedule E. All right, we have covered also Schedule E. If you go to our video catalog, you have gazillions videos about this topic and other topics. Payments you receive from the Conservation Reserve Program if you are receiving Social Security benefits for retirement or disability. Dividends on shares of stock and interest on bonds, notes, or other evidence of indebtedness. We have gain or loss from the sale or exchange of a capital asset, the sale, exchange, involuntary conversion, or other disposition of property unless the property in stock is not included in the original inventory system. And there are certain transactions in timber, coal, or domestic iron core. I'm not going to go through the whole list here, but you have to understand that you do not include income and losses from net operating losses from other years. Those will go into other places. And also, if you have a termination payments you received as a former insurance salesperson, if all of the conditions are met, the following conditions. For example, the payments was received from an insurance company because of services you performed as an insurance salesperson for the company. The payment was received after termination of your agreement to perform services for the company. You did not perform any services for the company after termination and before the end of the year in which you received the payments. Okay, you entered into a covenant not to compete against the company for at least a 1-year period. One thing I want to say here is that when we speak about self-employment tax, there is a wide variety of items you can include and not include, and every situation will be different. Okay, try to do your best to fill with the information you have. If you have questions, you can always email us and we'll basically pay attention to your specific example. I'll be right back right after this. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, folks, to another session of the Awesome Studio Kiwi Show. We are still having a conversation here about filing Form 1040, Schedule SE line-by-line instructions. And I want to talk to you about the filing method and the specifications before talking about the step-by-step, okay? And so when we talk about filing methods, there are three methods on the long form for calculating self-employment tax. So we have the regular method, that's number one. We have the farm optional method, and we have the non-farm optional method. So those are the three methods, okay? So the regular method determines self-employment tax owed if your net earnings from self-employment are $400 or more. And basically, it does that by multiplying your net earnings from self-employment by 15.3. Very easy. So to calculate your net earnings using the regular method, you want to subtract your business expenses from revenues, then multiply the amount by 92.35%. You can also deduct 50% of your self-employment tax. This is kind of cool. So that's for that. And so you also have the optional method. So you have the farm optional method and you have the non-farm optional method. And how do the optional methods help you? Well, you have you're able to deduct Social Security. So you have a Social Security coverage. You have the earned income credit. You have additional child tax credit rather. You have the child and dependent care credit. You have self-employed health insurance deduction. This is kind of cool. And one thing you need to understand here, you need to understand here is that you can actually change the method used to figure your net earnings from self-employment after you file your return. That is, you can change from the regular to the optional method or from the optional to the regular method. Okay, you can do this, but you need to file Form 1040X. Okay, now when we speak about Form 1040X and Schedule SE, we have the regular method, right? But you also have the farm optional method. So you may use this method to figure your net earnings from a farm self-employment if your gross farm income was $7,200 or less, or your net farm profits were less than $5,198. So net farm profits are the total of the amounts from Schedule F, line 34, and Schedule K1, box 14, code 8. We have covered Schedule F on another show. Please go ahead and avail yourself of that show. And you also have the non-farm optional method. Okay, you may use this method to figure your net earnings from non-farm self-employment if your net non-farm profits were less than $5,198 and also less than 72.20% of your gross non-farm income. And net non-farm profits are the total of the amounts from Schedule C, line 31, Schedule C Easy, line 3, Schedule K, box 4, and Schedule K1, box 1065B. Let me talk to you about specifications, folks. There are some specs you need to pay attention to. If you have more than one business, let's say you had 2 or more businesses subject to self-employment tax, your net earnings from self-employment are the combined net earnings from all of your businesses. Okay? If you had a loss in one business, it reduces the income from another. This is just simple as that. So you want to figure the combined self-employment tax on one Schedule SE. What about joint returns? Well, you want to show the name of the spouse with self-employment income on Schedule SE, and if both spouses have had during the year self-employment income, each must file a separate Schedule SE. This is important. I want to repeat that. Each spouse must file a separate Schedule SE. However, if one spouse qualifies to use the short Schedule SE, the front of form, and the other must use the long Schedule SE, back of form, both can use the same form. One spouse should complete the front and the other the back. So you want to include the total profits or losses from all businesses on Form 1040. And you want to enter the combined self-employment tax on Form 1040, line 57. What about community income? So if any of the income from a business, including farming, is community income, then the income and deductions are reported as follows, okay? So let's just say if only one spouse participates in the business, all of the income from that business is the self-employment earnings of the spouse who carried on the business. Very important to remember that. If both spouses participate, the income and deductions are actually allocated to the spouses based on their distributive shares. And if either or both spouses are partners in a partnership, you want to see partnership income or loss later. And if both spouses elected to treat the business as a qualifying joint venture, you want to check our video about a qualified joint venture. And if you are married filing separately, there are other instructions, other specifications. If the spouse who carried on the business, if you are the only spouse who carried on the business, you must include on Schedule SE, line 3, the net profit or loss reported on the other spouse's Schedule C. Okay, and it's important to remember that. Now, the spouse who did not carry on the business, if you are that spouse, you want to enter exempt community income on Form 1040, line 57. And the last thing I want to mention here is that there is also an element of additional Medicare tax that is linked to the short Schedule SC or the long form Schedule SC. So now let me talk to you about this step by step. So you can see on the screen right now, this is a self-employment tax Schedule SE. So you put your name, your first name, last name. You put your Social Security number, right? This is the person who is reporting self-employment income. And on line 2, you can see on line 2, basically line 1A and 1B does not apply to us. So we just move to line 2. And here you have to report net profit or loss from Schedule C, line 31, $100,000. And line 3, you have to combine line 1A, 1B, and 2. In this case, it's $100,000. And if you multiply on line 4A, can you see that? Are you following? So line 4A, you multiply line 3 by 92.35%, you get $92,350. Line 4A and B does not apply to us. So if you go to line 4C, you have to report the same amount there. And for line 6, you have to add lines 4C and 5B. So basically, it's pretty straightforward. All right, we're just adding numbers. And one thing for sure is that your situation might be different. Okay, but we're just showing you how you fill in the form. And one thing you need to understand is that if you have a net profit or loss, and I'm showing you right now Schedule C, so the first screenshot of Schedule C and the second screenshot of Schedule C, basically you have to subtract line 30 from line 21 and report the income on line 31. So you have to subtract line 30 from line 29 and report everything on line 31. Can you see that? So this is basically, you report that number from line 31 Schedule C, you report the same number on your Schedule SE. So we have here 92,000, line 6. Okay. And one thing I also want to say here is that basically it depends on if you have a farm business or you have farm income, your situation might be different. Okay, we are basically having a straightforward explanation here, but one thing you need to pay attention to when you complete your self-employment tax Schedule SC is to always have your numbers with you. You always want to have data from your Schedule C with you. You want to have data from other parts of the Form 1040 with you. You want to have data from your Schedule K1, Form 1065 with you. Okay, depending upon your situation, you might want to have a Form 1041 with you also. This is very important, especially if the Form 1041 applies to your business. Moving on here, line 8A. So basically, we just put the same income, $92,350. We put it on line 8A. It's the same thing. And we have no unreported tips. We have no wages subject to Social Security tax from Form 8919. We don't have that. So on line 8D, you have $92,350, the same amount. Basically now, you have to subtract line D from line 7. What is line 7? Let's go back up. Let's just go back up. Line 7. Line 7, you have 142,800. So you're basically subtracting 92,350 from 142,800. And the result is 50,350. 50,450 rather. Okay, so folks, are you with me? So line 9, you have 50,450. Moving on to line 10. So you have to multiply the smaller of line 6 or line 9 by 12.4%. So in our case, we basically multiplied, in this case, we multiplied 92,000. One second here. Line 9 is as 50,450. So we multiply 50,450 times 12.4%. And we got 6,256. All right. And line 11, you have to multiply line 6 by 2.9% for Medicare, which is the same thing here. We multiplied 50,450 times 2.9%. So we got the numbers 2,678. And your self-employment tax is basically a sum of the two lines. So you have a line 10 and line 11. So 6,256 and 2,678, that will amount to 8,934. Okay. And now the deduction for 1/2 of self-employment tax, in this you have to put it on Schedule 1, Form 1040, amounts to basically 1/2 of this amount. 1/2 of 8,934. 8,934. Okay. So you multiply the 8,934 times 50%. So that's the deduction for self-employment tax. You have to put this on Schedule 1, Form 1040. Let's move on to part 2. So I was talking to you earlier about optional methods to figure net earnings, right? You have the farm optional method and you have the non-farm optional method. I just explained it, so I'm not going to talk about it again. But I want to talk to you about some forms that are also related to Schedule SE Form 1040. We have W-2s, Form 4137-1, 4137-2, Form 8919-1, 8919-2, Schedule 2, Form 1040 Schedule 1, 1, Form 1040 Schedule 1, 2, the second screenshot, and the Form 1040 Schedule 1, 3. All right, folks, this is it for today's conversation. I was explaining to you everything you need to know about Form 1040 Schedule SE. I gave you a line-by-line instructions. It also gave you some background about the whole form. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned a lot from it. If you have any question, please drop them in the comments section below, or you can email us directly and we'll answer you. Thank you so much. God bless you, and I'll see you next time.